Okay guys, let's start talking about two-point perspective roofs. Alright, a little bit more involved with that. Before I go though, I want to make sure that you guys understand that all of the stuff that I'm doing up here on the board, I'm putting on YouTube. Okay, so if you have questions and I'm running around the room and I can't get to you, or you're at home, or you're at a study hall and you just don't remember what it is, you can search Coach Lock 1987 and I'll have these all in order. Okay, so you can look them up and get a review. All right?
What's the 1987 part?
That is the year that I graduated high school. So.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
No, that's a good question.
Figured it was your birthday or something.
No.
You were born.
All right, I'm just going to put a basic brick shape on here like we started with originally. Okay? And this is going to be a basic roof, but it's an elaborate process as you go. If we add more shapes to the house itself, we've got to add a more elaborate roof. And if you have parents that are in the building industry, they will tell you that the more elaborate the roof is, the more expensive the house is. If you look at a roof and it has a lot of pitches and a lot of different angles and a lot of different gables, that will determine the price of the house. A very simple roof is a very economical house. It's very economy based. It's cheaper. So, all right. So if we want to put a roof on this house, this is going to be the front over here. We'll have our front door here, and I want the peak to be over here. The first thing I want you to realize is, unless it's a very, very unique situation, the peak of the house usually falls in the center of that end of the house. Would everyone agree with that? Yeah. When you look at the end of the house, the peak should be centered on that wall. So now the question is, how do you determine the center of this wall over here? Okay? And it's in perspective, so you can't slap a ruler down and measure. You know, if I measure this and I say, well, that's 10 inches long, so 5 inches is right there, and that's the center. It's not the center in perspective. It's the center mathematically. So the easy way would be, how do you find the center of this square over here without using a ruler? Say it again louder.
Are you going to have the triangle on top of there?
It doesn't have to. You can find the center.
I was going to say just dropping up to the point.
Straight down from the point. No, we want to find that point. Just guess. It might be better than using a ruler. I'm going to tell you there's a real simple, easy way to do this. Right?
Yeah.
You put an X through the square where the lines meet. That's your dead center. The same thing would hold true over here. So if we do that, that gives us the center of that wall. Then you use your T-square and draw a vertical line or a very light vertical line. Okay? Now this is one of those situations where you choose. You get to pick where you want that gable to be, where that peak will be, how high you want it to be. You know, if you want it to be like a witch's hat and be way tall, there's different versions of roofs. I'm just going to select that right there. Okay, and I'm going to go back to black because I'm going to draw the house. You pull down to the corners, and that gives you that peak. Okay, so far so good, right? Okay, let's look at the top of the house from a helicopter view. We're up above the house, hovering in a helicopter, right? We're looking down at the top of the roof. We just figured out this point right here to be this point right here. But what we need is to figure out where this point is down here in perspective, right? Would you guys all agree that this should be a straight line?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can draw this line as a vanishing line just like the other ones, and it works. The problem is, where do I shut it off? Where do I stop?
Where the house comes.
Well, here's the house.
The midpoint of the roof right there.
How do I find the midpoint though?
X thing.
You can do an X, but I'm going to show you a shortcut. You like shortcuts?
Yeah.
We've already done one X, right? would you guys agree that that line that went straight up went through the center of the top of that wall? So if you line up the center of that wall with the vanishing point, that gives you the point at which it goes through the background. And then you T-square up, find that point, so straight line up, and that gives you the pitch over there. Okay? And we will go beyond that eventually. For those of you who think this is super easy and you want to go a little farther today, you can extend this out just a little bit over here, and then parallel lines to those two peaks that you drew earlier, and then you can erase this near one. And then these two lines would be vanishing lines. And that gives you the overhang. And when we start erasing stuff that we don't need here, it starts developing into the end of our house. Right? So now this all becomes a shadow. On the end of our house. Okay? Questions? All right, let's work on putting some roofs on some brick shapes. And then tomorrow we'll talk about maybe adding a second gable and amping up that level of difficulty.